my name is Jack Price. I'm a software engineer with Ericsson. So I think I've always had an interest in coding, even when I was growing up, and I've always wanted to be able to write good code. And when I joined Ericsson, I think the amount of knowledge that was there, both knowledge specific to Ericsson, I guess domain knowledge you would call it, but also general coding knowledge, like how to write good code and good coding practices and processes. It's all there in Ericsson. I think there's an awful lot of senior engineers and even junior engineers as well who've been in the company longer than I have that are just like willing to impart their knowledge. You just go and ask someone a question and they will put down what they're doing and they will help you. And it's really, really nice to see. Just that kind of culture. There's no gatekeeper or anything like that of trying to hold back knowledge to, everybody wants to help everybody else learn. And I think that's really, really great to see. And I suppose when you join Ericsson as well, in terms, again, keeping with the knowledge, you get an 8 weeks training course where they teach you everything about the tools that we use within the company, but also these are tools that are used everywhere in the industry. It's standard stuff. So you really get to I suppose, get onboarded quite quickly, and then you have your team-specific stuff as well once you're put into a team, and they look after every step of the way, and I think that's really, really great. Day-to-day in work, pretty much everything I do is in Java. We do all of our production code is written in Java, and then Java is quite an old language, and some people might think that's a little bit outdated, but it's still really, really important to use, and it's still really used like everywhere in the industry. Now we are moving on to using new technologies as well. For example, for testing, writing test code, sometimes we started to use Groovy, which is a sort of syntactically similar to Java, but it's a lot more flexible. It's really, really nice to use. So we use that for testing, and then sometimes we will use kind of other languages like Python and that kind of thing. And then that's, I suppose, the hard coding skills. We also have sort of softer DevOps skills where we use things like Docker and Kubernetes and Helm to orchestrate our various services and put them together. And that's that's great because these are things that are used everywhere in the industry. And I suppose when you come to softer skills, teamwork and collaboration is obviously the big one. When you're in college, you get a couple group projects where you're maybe in the groups of 2 or 3 people. But once you come into Ericsson, you're often put into a large team, maybe 7 or 8. And these are people that have vastly different skill sets, vastly different levels as well of knowledge and of I hesitate to say competence, but of interest in different things. And in college, everybody's on the same level. So it's interesting to see how the different people interact with each other. The senior engineers interact with junior engineers. But ultimately, I think that everybody's opinion is heard and everybody matters. And that's really, really nice to see. So I think that my current role is mainly improve my coding massively. And it's incredible, actually, to be honest with you. I've been with Ericsson for 2 years now. And I recently, just there at Christmas, went back and I started looking at some of the college projects that I'd wrote. And I was looking at the code and I was thinking, what the hell was I thinking here? What was I writing? This is disgusting. And at the time I thought that code was great. I thought this was good and I got good grades for this code. And I think that really shows how far I've come as a programmer. And that's all thanks to the work that I've done in Ericsson. So I think it's really massively improved my knowledge of good coding practices and good processes and that kind of thing. So that's really good. So I think I'd like to go on to become a senior engineer. I've already spoken to my manager about it, and while it's certainly, I think, too early right now for me to become one, I can get the ball rolling, basically. I went to my manager and I said, look, I want to become a senior in the next while. What can I do? And normally I think, you might expect a manager to say, oh, look, it's kind of, you really need to just get more experience and come back to me in a while. But he gave me pointers and he said, here's what you need to do. These are the qualities that we look for and that kind of thing. And he really, pointed me in the right direction, I suppose. So it was really nice. And I was able to see, it was personal feedback. It was personal to me rather than just general stuff. Here's what I've noticed about you. You need to work on this. Maybe you need to work on this and that kind of thing. I think the best piece of advice I could give is just code. It's just don't restrict yourself to the college assignments that you're given. Go and do stuff in your spare time. Go and get involved in open source projects. Because particularly open source projects are a great way to get involved and to see how the processes work. Because open source projects, while they may be spare time things for people, they're still pretty professional and they still use a lot of the tools that you would use in an actual job like what you might have in Ericsson. So yeah, so just code. Just get lots and lots of experience with maybe different languages. You don't have to have really in-depth knowledge in one language, but maybe a broad maybe shallower depth of knowledge in many different languages can really help and give you, broaden your horizons, I suppose, and give you that leg up. I know that when I went for my interview in Ericsson, they were very impressed when I said that I'd worked on open source projects. And then the other thing is just put in an application. Don't be afraid. There's the worst thing that they can say is, sorry, we can't give you a job. And that's not the end of the world. There's plenty of jobs to go around. And you get experience from doing interviews to help you in future interviews. And it can really stand to you. So I studied computer science in UCD, and that was a 4-year course, a Bachelor of Science. And in my last year was when COVID had hit. So I moved out to Athlone to live with my girlfriend at the time, and I was just looking around for kind of local jobs. Athlone is pretty central, so I could have gone to Galway or Dublin, but I saw that Ericsson was based right in Athlone, just up the road from me, and figured that I'd throw in an application, because I mean, we've all heard about Ericsson. They're kind of a household name, they made Bluetooth, and they're heavily involved with 5G and that kind of thing. So I figured I'd throw in an application, and the application process I thought was quite easy. There was a couple of stages. There was some coding stuff. There was an interview with manager and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, I joined the company, and I've really enjoyed it ever since. There's a great culture in there, and everybody's really friendly, and the office space is nice. And there's a good allow you a good balance of working from home, hybrid working, and that kind of thing.